It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. And so it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smylie Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Dude, that's Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
All right, welcome back to another episode of The Smylie Show. We are joined by two-time PGA Tour champion Matt Every, and those two events that I just mentioned were the Arnold Palmer Invitational. It's Bay Hill Week. So, Matt, we had to bring in the expert, man. Nobody knows this golf course better than you, and I want to get into the Arnold Palmer and what that event meant to you, but I want to kind of work our way up to this because you were an incredible amateur golfer, and I feel like the trajectory from when you got from being a really strong amateur player to becoming a professional golfer, I want to start there. So let's talk junior golf, amateur golf. Were you always, Matt, a very good player coming up in the junior ranks?
Well, we're digging deep here.
Oh,
Smylie.
yeah. We're going deep, buddy.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I would say I was a late bloomer in the golf ranks for sure. I was not like, I probably played some AJGA tournaments, but I played basketball in high school till I stopped growing, basically. And, running screens on the baseline didn't really work out anymore.
You sound like me, man.
I got to basically stuck to golf my junior year, and I was pretty good at it. My best friend's dad owned a course in Daytona, and I just would basically spend my days there in the summer, working the maintenance crew and then practicing in the afternoons. And then I got good enough, like in the state high school tournament. And then I think I qualified for a US junior maybe, and a couple AJGA events, enough to get on Florida's radar.
Yeah.
Chris
that's
Tootin.
Buddy Alexander, right? At the time?
Yeah. I think Chris Tootin, the Titleist rep on tour now.
Yes.
He was the assistant coach for Florida at the time. And he actually is the one that told Buddy about me. And that's how it got started. I basically was just offered a spot on the team my freshman year, and which I was like, my grandfather was helping me out a little bit, and he was like, I was like, heck yeah, I'm in. And then
what were the other options? Like if it wasn't Florida,
North Florida was probably where I would 100% would have gone. It was like that was it.
Because Florida is like a perennial powerhouse at the time, correct?
Oh yeah, so in my recruiting class, we had Ryan Cochran, who was a stud coming out of Kentucky. He actually had D1 offers in basketball. He's a big lefty, Russ Cochran's son, all-time human being. Brett Stegmeyer, nice player out of Played on tour, nice player out of Connecticut, still playing, real nice player, great guy. And then James Vargas, who is just an absolute world beater junior golfer. I mean, there was
James Vargas. Okay.
Yes. How old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay, yeah. So you would have whiffed on this kid. So I'm 41. If you're my age or older, you know who James Vargas is. Like, he was an absolute world beater out of Miami.
Mine was like Philip Francis and Ricky Fowler.
Yes,
like that was my 1 and 2 when I was, I guess, a freshman or so coming up.
So my 1 and 2, like my junior golf career, would have been like Ty Tryon and James Vargas. And so I was the 4th guy in that recruiting class. And basically, the theory I had was I'm playing against the best golfers in the country in practice, so every day I got to get like a lesson from Camilo Villegas, whether he knew he was giving me one or not. And then just measuring myself all the time. It was a great, I was just in a good spot to kind of take that incline in my golf game. You know what I mean?
So Matt, have you been like up to date at all on kind of what's happening in the NCAA with golf and like potentially with the SEC? There's a potential now that rosters are going to get cut down dramatically. Most programs, I would say, have typically had close to 10, 11, sometimes carrying 12 players on a team. And now it looks like the max that will be on a roster will be 8 players.
Wow.
And when you look at this now for what this could have meant for someone like me, who I call myself a late bloomer, or you, there's going to be players, probably 3 players on each of these SEC teams that are going to get cut. And it's kind of I think a big problem. And just your opinion of just hearing how crummy I think this is, that there's not more opportunities. And now other programs will get better, but it's still.
Yeah, I don't like hearing that. That bums me out a little bit. I thought you were going to bring better news than that. It's the first time I'm hearing that. I thought you were going to say like, we're extending the PGA Tour U or something like that. But that stinks. 11 and 12 is a very solid number. I remember when we were in school, some programs like Arizona, I felt like carried a ton of guys. They might have had like 18 or 20. That might be excessive, but I thought that was a sweet spot. 8. Yeah, I don't know, man. If you're on a stacked team and you're like a 9 or 10 guy and you've got a big ceiling ahead of you, that could be not great.
Well, I just think about how many players that, don't have the opportunity to play in AJGAs or, have the financial backing to go and get in front of all these top coaches. And so their options will be, let's say an assistant coach doesn't discover Matt Every, you're going to end up at a school that maybe doesn't have the same resources. It doesn't mean you're not going to be a great player, because good players are always going to find their way one way or another. But I just think that you're not allowing kids to develop potentially in front of really good players. And some of the best advice I got as a kid, Matt, and I'm sure you'll probably agree with this as well, is that the more you play with better players, the better it will make you.
I agree with that. It's always nicer to have someone just a little bit above you where you can measure yourself. You're spot on with that, Smylie. But I also agree with something you said as well. Look, that's the beauty of the sport we play in. Yeah, that stinks for this, but also I'm going through this with my kid right now. He's 12. He's playing baseball, and there's like middle school. There's tryouts for sports, and like he's facing this hard reality that in some sports things are subjective. Our sport is not subjective. If you are good enough, you'll find a way. You will. You will. I mean, it might be harder than some other guys, but you'll find a way, and that's the beauty of golf. You are what you are.
So you talk a minute ago thinking that PGA Tour U is where I was going. It actually is, because I'm wondering in this is that do you kind of like PGA Tour U, but also kind of dislike it at the same time? But it's kind of the climate that we're in, right? It's like you understand why it's important to have it, and that these guys have something to play for, and that Live Golf is now calling from a different way. So I'm wondering, do you think that hurts guys though, in that they're kind of handed something versus all of the generations that have come before them had to earn their way onto the PGA Tour?
Yes, I you could hit this from a ton of different angles, dude.
I know, right? Like there's a lot of wins.
I hear you, because we were the only kind of major sport that didn't have a direct pipeline from the college to the pros if you were the best, and it just didn't matter. Oh, well, go to Q school, figure it out. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of in that boat. I was getting sponsor invites coming out of school for sure, but it's like there's no guarantees, and at the same time, though, Smylie, I think these guys are better now in college.
I agree.
And they're all stepping up to the plate, and they're all delivering. And the proof's in the pudding. Look, between Thorbjornsen, Ludwig, and we got Clanton now. Like they're all delivering. You could almost expand that number a little bit, like from 1 to maybe 3. Give 3 cards to those guys. You got to be what are the rules? You have to be a senior to.
Yeah, it's the accelerated is like the freshman, sophomore, junior pathway, like which Clanton and Gordon Sargent have done, and then the other one is like the seniors. So they give 1 card to the top players. So like for instance, this year, Davis Ford. Is it David Ford?
There's Ford, 2 of them,
Ford,
right?
one of the lefty Ford. I know a David and a Davis Ford, and for whatever reason, I'm getting him confused. But
does he have it locked up?
PGA Tour card. He's played well enough, but there's a chance that Ballesteros got an opportunity.
What about
to pass him.
Ian Gilligan's going to get him?
He's playing good
Gators.
too. I saw he made a cut in Vegas this year, man. I saw that.
Dude, he's so good. I had the other night there was a dinner at TPC. They were honoring Billy for something. And I went to it, and I sat with JC Deacon, the head coach from Florida, and we talked about Ian for like 10 minutes. And I was like, dude, I love that kid. Like, he's going to be somebody for sure.
Which is a great place to be. Are you in the locker room? Like, you giving like the Any Given Sunday Inches Al Pacino speech? Are we there yet?
Oh yeah, I think we've been there. We're gonna have a long talk with Rob today about the 99-199 issue from last week. Like I just don't get how he is still employed. We gotta talk to ownership about that one.
The Smylie Show, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, what sports books could go there. I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flagg wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball. When the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested. And it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Well, you were a top amateur, and you won the Ben Hogan Award. So I'm imagining that you would have been in the same situation with all of these players that could have potentially had a PGA Tour card. But getting us out of this amateur stuff, the last part I want to talk about is your experience playing in the Walker Cup, because the Americans had lost 3 straight before you played and won at the Chicago Golf Club.
Yeah.
What was that experience like playing in a Walker Cup? And then also maybe you've been a part of a team, I guess, that how important it was to go out and win and the pressure that you may have felt, kind of similar to what these guys may feel later in New York this September when we have this Ryder Cup.
Yeah, I mean, you're bringing back some good memories. Walker Cup in Chicago, that was
How pure was that?
It was a little bit unfortunate, to be honest, because it poured rain for like 2 weeks leading up to the event. So the balls weren't even like coming out of their marks on the green. It was so wet, but it was still an incredible experience. We had a great time. I think we stayed maybe 20 minutes outside of the city. I remember Anthony Kim was on the team with me, and we just had a ton. JB Holmes. I think he was John Holmes at the time. And then a bunch of other guys. The USGA was great to us. We had a blast. But it was killer. Jeff Overton, I think made the winning putt.
Any guys on the European
week? They stuck me with Lee Williams, and we battled each other all around that joint. It was hilarious.
Did who was on that European team? Any notable names that come to mind?
Probably, man. My memory is so bad.
I didn't know if there's just like this,
there probably
Rory
is,
or something like that.
I'm totally whiffing on it, but no, there wasn't a Rory. No. Maybe like this Reese Davies. Remember that guy?
Yeah. He played on the European tour. I remember that. But hardly anything else that I can recall. I don't think he ever made it over to the big tour. Not that my memory serves me correctly there.
East Tennessee State guy.
That was a European pipeline at one point, man. That's where Rory was signed to go, right?
Was he really? I think
he
you're
was
right about that.
Committed to go there. I don't know if he signed, but
they just go to Wales and Ireland to recruit for.
Can you imagine Rory showing up to East Tennessee State? I don't even know where it is. Just going from that to that, and thinking, "Huh."
Yeah. One day. That's funny, dude. That reminds me. I was playing the Northeast Amateur one year. It was like I think it might have been my junior year summer.
Yeah.
And Buddy called me.
Juan Moise, right?
Yes. And Buddy called me. And he's like, "Hey, there's this Australian kid that's going to be there, and he's thinking about coming to college. I need you to talk to him and try to get him to come to Florida." It was Jason Day. So there's this dinner, and I see these two. I know they're two Australian guys, and one looks like a normal guy, and then the other guy is taller. He looks a little more athletic, to be honest, at the time, and kind of looks like Will Ferrell from Night at the Roxbury. And it's his buddy David Luteris, who's just an all-time human. And I had, I think I had a couple drinks, and I'm like 20 or 21, Yeah. I go, "Oh, this is the guy I'm supposed to talk to." So I go up and I just start talking to David like he was Jason, and Jason was right next to him. But we ended up figuring it out. It's a funny story.
What did Jason say once he realized?
I think he said, "I'm good. I'm going to stay in Australia."
He stayed up to stay in Australia. Okay. Yeah. Well, hey, it was worth a shot. Go Gators.
Worth a shot.
What was it like playing for Buddy?
The best.
In what way? Did he just challenge you?
It was just like a second dad to me. He's just like the ultimate guy's guy. Like, dude, he is the best. Like he was the best to play for. There's so many good stories I can't tell because they're too good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you probably don't know this, but
I do know this. You guys have a tie with Buddy, your family, right?
Yeah, my parents played for Buddy at LSU. So my mom was on the women's team and my dad was on the men's team. He coached both, and in the 1985 U.S. Amateur that he won at Shoal Creek, he stayed at my house, and I believe it was 1985, so I wasn't even around yet. I was 6 years away. So we've known Buddy forever. And then, of course, Tyson grew up with playing. He was a little older. Didn't get to necessarily compete against him until I got to professional golf. And it was just we've been intertwined for years, man.
He was a massive, just a massive part of my incline in college. I mean, he was my coach. He was legit my coach, like my golf coach, my swing coach, everything in college. I worked with Buddy after college for a while. If my game would go to shit, I would, when he moved to Auburn, I'd go up to Auburn and see him. He's just a voice and a pair of eyes I can trust in really all aspects of life. And it kind of shows in his son too, Tyson. I mean, Tyson's a 10 out of 10. I want my son to be like Tyson. Like Tyson's he's like a little brother to me. I mean, he is. I watched him grow up. My recruiting visit, I remember throwing the football to Tyson in the C lot at Ben Hill Griffin, and to see him get on tour, he has a ton of big brothers. Like, that was killer, and we're all rooting for him to get back out there for sure.
Absolutely. And I would say too that just watching his development and how he's failed and succeeded many times, and you and I both have felt that on the PGA Tour, where we've felt the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. So I want to just kind of start here with your professional journey. What was the beginning like as we lead up to your 2 wins at the Arnold Palmer?
I did not know this was going to be this hard tonight. These hard questions.
Hey man,
what was my journey like? Okay, it was pretty good, man. After school, I struggled to get on tour for a little bit. I played the Hooters Tour for a couple of years. Ended up getting my nationwide status. Maybe a couple years out there, I won the Tour Championship to get in. Like, crazy story to get for that to happen.
What was the Hooters Tour like?
Great.
I mean,
what would you some bad habits on that tour? Like, I mean, it was a great tour.
What would you win first place check on the Hooters Tour?
Probably like $30,000.
Yeah. I mean, everybody said it used to just be such a good developmental
Ted Potter and Kevin Streelman used to just destroy the Hooters Tour.
Just made a living. How much could they make in a year playing the Hooters Tour?
Probably a couple $100,000.
Which is, I mean,
maybe
guys would be killing to do that now on the mini tours.
Yeah, right. How is there not a good mini tour?
There's no good mini tour. Maybe we should make a good mini tour because it's crap.
Yeah.
Philadelphia 76ers, they tried to play 2 different things. They tried to play contender, and they tried to play protect Joel Embiid. It wasn't doing Joel Embiid any good. And this goes back to what I've talked about numerous times on this network. Why did they let him play in the first place? Why was he on the Olympic team? I mean, we looked at it last year in the playoffs against the Knicks. The damn kid was on one leg.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I won a mini tour event, didn't even get paid. I won a Hopkins tour event back in 2014. I beat Patton coming down the stretch. This is right before we were going to Q school, and him and I both didn't get paid. Actually, multiple weeks. It was wild.
Jeez, it's ragged.
Yeah, ragged. So pick up your story here on the nationwide tour.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of going to take a little to tell this, but I'll tell it.
Yeah.
So I'm a little outside the number. It was top 25 got their cards at the time, and I was probably around 30th, and we were playing this tournament in Saboba Springs in Southern Cal. Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't think I remember that.
Saboba. It's either Sabota or Saboba Springs. All right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like inland California. So we're playing there, and I had already had like a couple warnings about my attitude out there at the time. I was young and just full of fire. All right. Like, just instant reaction and everything. Anyways, way too competitive. So I got my last warning there, and I was going to get suspended for a tournament. All right. So the next week was Chattanooga, and it's Wednesday of Chattanooga. Or my agent calls me on Tuesday, and he goes, "Hey, don't go to the course tomorrow. They're going to give you a letter, and you're going to get suspended for an event. If you get it tomorrow and we appeal, it's 2 weeks, and that suspension will land the day before the Tour Championship, and you won't be able to play in it. If you don't go to the course tomorrow and get it after your round on Thursday, we can appeal, and then since you start the tournament, you can finish it." Okay. So
wow, that's a heck of an agent move.
Listen. Oh, yes. Listen, act of God. I don't even have to not go to the course. It rains all day on Wednesday that the whole thing gets canceled. All right. I go to the course, get the letter after the round. We've filed the appeal for 2 weeks. It lands on the Thursday. I end up winning the Tour Championship to get my card, and then get suspended the first week of the season in Hawaii. So I just start in Palm Springs my rookie year.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? You win?
Yeah. I think I had to finish solo second or better.
And you won the damn tournament.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
That was the year, you're probably too young for this too. That was the year Michael Sim, the Australian kid, got
in the top 50.
Yes. Off that tour. It was basically him and I the whole weekend at the Tour Championship, but it was a killer. It was awesome.
Holy mackerel. So you make it to the PGA Tour. You're on the PGA Tour now. And how long before your first win?
We can't get too deep here. We're going to have to graze over a lot of parts.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Okay. So how long, till my first win?
Yeah. Like how many years were you on tour before your first win?
I would say I got on in maybe 2010. I won in 14. I had some really good years leading up to my wins. Like quality play, like I would say consistent, like stuff that would be shocking if you picked me up in the back half of my career. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I had plenty of looks to win before I won my first time, maybe like 5 to 7 very realistic looks. And then, 2014 rolls around.
Was it trending that way? Was it trending that way to a win?
Well, I felt like it was. The whole West Coast I played well at. I think I had like 2 or 3 looks on the West Coast, to be honest, that like if I had a good Sunday, I was going to win. Do you know what I mean? And then I had a decent finish at either Honda or Tampa coming back here. And, my results, I'd played Bay Hill a couple times at least before, and my results were okay, maybe like a 30th or something. But it just clicked that week, man. I made a lot of putts.
Were the greens bent at that time? Were they?
No.
When did they change
never
from
bent? So they're never bent. They're just overseed sometimes, and the overseed.
That's what it was. It's the overseed that's confusing me.
Yeah. So if it's if the winter's a little colder, like longer, the overseed will hang in a little bit longer. So like that's why when we get to Tampa, it starts looking like more Bermuda-y, the greens, because we're a little later in the year. But yeah, I wish they'd go away from that completely. The whole Florida swing. Let's just bail on.
You just want a brown.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, PGA National was very green. It was a shell of what it could be, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
but it was pretty. It was nice to walk on. It was like I sat my ass down on the ground plenty of times because it was just nice and comfy grass.
Like if you go to TPC right now, you just look out from the clubhouse at the field of overseed, the money they probably spend on overseeding that whole problem. I don't even know what that budget is.
That place is so pure though now compared to what it was 10 years ago.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, what sports books could go there. I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It's getting closer to being like Augusta National as far as
exactly
how
where
manicured it is.
My head was going with. You're right.
It seriously is. When you've played Augusta and you've played players recently, it's like, holy crap.
Well, you pull up the driveway now on the right, and you have that tightly mown grass all the way down the right. It's perfect year round. I mean, it's pure. It does give off those vibes a little bit.
So, Matt, the 2014 when you won, Arnold Palmer was still alive. He's still alive in 2015. Walking off that green, what was that moment like? Because I can't imagine just as a player, walking off that green, watching Tiger do it for so many years, shaking Arnold's hand. What was it like for you?
Well, okay, so when I walked off the green the first year to shake his hand, I did not know that I had won yet. I had to sweat out. It was like maybe Adam or Keegan had to miss like a 20, the putt Tiger always makes. Mm-hmm. And so let me get back to that. So I go through the tunnel and I'm in the scoring trailer and there's a little TV in there. And, we're 50 yards away from the 18th green. It's right across the street. And I think it was Adam. Maybe it was Keegan. Anyways, I'm watching him get ready to putt, and I can hear right when he's getting ready to walk into his putt, I can hear the crowd like moan, and it wasn't a roar like he made it, and it was just like, I still watched the putt though to make sure it missed. But that feeling was like out of body, man. I mean, then it's like, are you kidding me? And I knew. Yeah. And I knew, my dad that was the first tournament my dad ever took me to. I grew up in Daytona, and some of my first memories are my dad bringing me over there. I think the first time I went, Andrew McGee won. I don't even know what year that is, but I remember his name winning the tournament. But yeah, it was killer. I knew Mr. Palmer a little bit before because I was buddies with Sam Saunders. And so, years before, Sam and I would get paired in that tournament, and Arnie would come out and ride in his golf cart, like in the rough during the tournament, watching it, like right behind us hitting, watching us hit. It was great. And the cool part was I knew I could tell I knew he knew how much it meant to me. Like there were sexier names around mine that could have won that golf tournament. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was all in, and it was, dude, it was just the coolest ever.
I mean, I can't imagine even after. So I imagine vividly, you can probably remember just the locker room that evening. I would have just stayed there all night.
Oh yeah.
And just like been pouring whatever they were pouring. Right.
And they've redone the locker room a little bit since. And we used to have this like warm, cozy, I'm like old school locker room. And it's a badass hanging there with the guys who have been working there forever. It's the best. I didn't leave there for a long time that night. It was, you don't want to leave. You're like, I want to soak this all in. I remember the drive back to Jacksonville was great. It was like, are you kidding me? I couldn't wipe the smile off my face. You know what I mean?
Oh, I can't imagine. But wasn't Arnold Palmer's drink Kettle One with a lemon twist? Is that what it was? I mean, I would have just...
You would have just been sipping that. I wouldn't.
Hey, Arnie. Yeah, I got this one. Did he stay after it all, or did he bounce?
No, he bounced. He was getting up there in age. But I'm telling you, he made me feel like the champion, dude. It was the best.
Well, so expectations going into the following year in 2015, were you playing just as well, or was this one a little bit more of a surprise based off of form coming in?
So when I won, I started struggling like right after. I was kind of a little white. I remember struggling in left to right winds off of the tee, and it was driving me nuts. And I knew it was just like I kind of wiped my driver a little bit was what it was. It was just a pattern that I had in my golf swing, and I bounced around a couple coaches, and then it's interesting because if you would ask me who my coach was the majority of my career, I would say Scott Hamilton. But at this point in my career, Sean Foley popped up, and it was just Sean and I knew each other for a while, just we were buddies. And I think him and Tiger just bailed. He had some time, so he took a look at me, and we really tried to shallow my longer stuff out to get rid of that left to right spin. And it took me a while to get it. I turned into an amazing range player, and it usually was the opposite for me. I was usually like, I don't know about this. And I'd go out there and stripe it, and then it turned into when I didn't miss, and now I'm 3 over through 7 holes. Like, what the heck's going on, So it took me a little while to mirror it up. I had no form coming in at all, like none. I remember Tampa, I missed the cut, and I had my family with me, and I was pumped that I was going to Bay Hill the next week, but I went and hit balls Friday after. And another thing Sean and I worked on was my like head position at address. I kind of always was kind of Jordanish, cocked my head a little bit, and we were trying to get more neutral. And under the gun, even I would call Thursday on the PGA Tour under the gun if you're changing your head position.
Oh yeah,
that you've been doing your whole life. You know what I mean?
Feels like Sunday the back nine.
But you have to get real reps, and the only way to get those is just to commit to it and figure it out there. And sometimes that could take 6 weeks. You know what I'm saying? It could take 5 months. I mean, it could. I got to Bay Hill. Like I said, I had been striping it on the range for like 3 months and 0 results. Like none. I think I saw something the other day where I was in my last 6 tournaments, I was like 48 over par going into that week. And then I just found something on the course. Maybe I was just comfortable. I think it played pretty easy that year too. And it just worked out. I really didn't even putt good that week, man. I didn't.
So you could have been walking away, man. Arnie could have gone home.
I don't know about that. That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant by that at all. But I remember being frustrated the first 3 rounds. Like, damn it! Like, I am not making a thing right now. Like, this could be ridiculous, And then the last round I did.
So Arnold, was he was there on the 18th hole?
Oh, yeah.
At that point. So this time you had the moment with him on that green, getting to shake his hand.
Yeah, this was different. There was more of an embrace there. Got to shake those big old man hands again. And I mean, I'm telling you, man, there's some paws on that guy. He's all time. He's my favorite, yes, I won his tournament, but he's my favorite legend of the game, like far and away. He is.
Were they giving cardigan jackets out for winning?
No, so I got a little hosed on this, dude. So they used to give. Do you remember when Tiger was winning it and they were giving him a sword?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well,
I didn't know it was that event though.
Yes, that's what it was. Well, I somehow fell between the cardigan and the sword, and I just have a trophy, which is totally fine. Like I have two beautiful trophies in my living room. They're amazing. But I think the swords would be pretty sick too.
One of the coolest things that Arnold Palmer would do was the signed letters that he would send when you won a golf tournament. I assume you probably still have a couple of those letters from those 2 wins.
I do. I have them both up in my living room. Got my Augusta National letters. Yeah, those aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, I have one sitting as well in our house, signed Arnold Palmer after my win. It's the coolest thing ever, man. The guy's a living legend, and it's a fun week. So now when you're in the media business now, just like myself, how's that transition been for you, and what do you like the most about it?
Let's just fast forward over the 9 years of absolute dog a golf course.
Well, I mean,
I appreciate that. It's been great, dude. I love doing this. Look, PGA Tour Live's right in my backyard in Ponte Vedra Beach, and there's some great people there that I work with. I really, really like doing this. I'm sure you can speak to this as well. It doesn't feel like work. Like this week, I get to go follow Ludwig and Scotty Scheffler for the first 2 days and have a front row seat to that. Are you kidding me, dude?
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If you get streamed, you're doing featured holes at PGA Tour Live and you're sitting on the 16th hole, wherever, and everyone's hitting it 10 feet to the right, and you're sitting there and you're like, damn it, I remember being short-sighted on that downslope of that bunker over there and making double here, and just stuff like that. Like, there's no need to take on, anything more than minimal risk out there in most moments, unless it's the very end. And I had a hard time resisting temptation, and I think if I was better at that, I would have been a little better, but I also don't know if that really synced up with my personality, and I don't know, man.
And what about watching guys on the ground, just the way they go about their business mentally and just how they carry themselves as far as their posture? That's something that I noticed.
Look, what I've noticed is everyone needs to smile more out there, Smylie. It's glaringly obvious. And I was a victim of it myself, but we need to show more of our teeth out there. Like it's not that bad. Body language is it might be at an all-time low right now. We need some shoulders up high. You know, Jake Knapp's body language last week after 11. I mean, I get it, but it looked pretty tough. Yeah.
Just shoulders kind of got a little low on him, didn't it?
I'll tell you what else I've noticed doing this. The player caddy combo I feel like it's gotten a little too much.
It's gotten too complicated, you think? Like too much
it's just information? Sometimes it's just a stock 7 from the middle of the fairway. Like, we're not trying to solve a crime out here. Like, I've been doing this my whole life. So this is 174 yard 7-iron. I got it. Like, I don't need a checklist of things. But I guess it's how these guys are now. You know,
you throw an aim point too, man. There's just all these steps that these guys kind of like, we're turning players into robots kind of, right?
We are. Yes. Everyone has a TrackMan and basically everyone does aim point. What do you think on aim point? Are you out on that?
I don't like the mannerisms that guys have with it as far as just getting that close to the hole. Like it used to mean something to respect people's lines and their through lines. Like, we were always making sure we weren't finishing out. Now guys just walk up there right up next to the hole. And I know they're not getting in anybody's way technically, but it just creates a lot of friction and traction around the hole.
Yeah. I just don't like the way it looks, to be honest. I mean, if we're already a fringe sport, this doesn't really do us any favors.
Me too. But I also think that it's important every now and then to be able to throw your club. And you were probably the best at just one good solid one, like every other month.
Yes.
Where was your favorite club throw that you ever had?
Nobody's ever asked me that. And you're spot on with that. I didn't do it a lot, but if I did, I was going to get my money's worth. Yes. Because the fines are all the same. Like, if I'm going to get fined for just Uncle Rico and one at my bag, 12 yards away, I might as well try and throw it 70 yards,
Are we thinking like Rory McIlroy, like 3-iron in the lake type of thing?
Oh, I have all of mine beat that one. All of them.
Okay. Yeah. All right. How far did it go and where was it?
I've had a couple really good ones. One year at Torrey, I was chopping and I was playing with Keegan, and he hit it on 14. I hit a terrible tee shot, just totally bailed out to the right. And he's in the fairway and I'm up next. And I just chopped one out short of the green. I don't even know where it went. It didn't matter. I was fuming at this point. And immediately after I hit, this is from the right rough, I just helicoptered one over his head into the canyon. Like, not even, I mean, this thing was 50 yards into the canyon too. He giggled, him and Scotty Vail. I mean, it was hilarious. That was it.
But, from the right rough into the, dude, that is such a far throw.
That's a long ways.
I mean, that's a good 60 yards, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's some, you know how you get, like, you ever just out in public and you like see a view of something and you're like, oh, this would be a cool golf shot or something like that. Mm-hmm. I had that happen to me one time with Mark Russell. Okay. So 17 at the old Reno. Do you remember that tee shot?
Yes.
Probably
top of a cliff.
Nightmare tee shot for you and I, by the way, with the yips off the tee. Like
100%.
Thin air, 100-foot elevation drop, like a thimble of a fairway, crosswind. the good thing is it was Stableford, so you could only make double at least. You know, I mean, at
well
that
said.
point,
Well said.
You know what I'm saying? So I had this nasty tug, and I don't know if it's hazard or what it is down there. And so we go down there, we don't find it, and Mark's got to drive me back up the hill. Like, I'm already done for the day, and we're talking. Like, Mark's a buddy of mine, and we're talking about the Orlando Magic. Actually, he lives in Orlando, and he's buddies with like my childhood idol, Scott Skiles. So we're talking about Scott Skiles coming up the hill. We got this climbing this mountain, and the group behind us is already on the tee.
Oh, even more awkward. You're just
you get not after you're used to it. It's not that bad. So
hey guys, good to see you again.
The next one just goes a mile to the right, and I get back in the cart, and we get to like the spot where we're getting ready to like go back down the hill and the elevation drop. I was like, Mark, like, just stop the cart real quick. And he stops it, and I get out and just launch this thing like 100 yards down the hill. I mean, this thing went forever. He just giggled. It was so good. He's like, Matthew, what am I going to do with you? I say, you're not going to find me.
He didn't find you?
Away.
No, this was just like
he would never. I think if you do it in front of their face, like,
it's respect thing.
Yeah,
it's like, hey,
it's like, I knew you were right here. Like, come on, man. Nobody's watching this. We got 2 volunteers over there.
Yeah, I literally just told you I was going to I asked for a technical here, and
all of my fines have been from Stephen Cox out there.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Who I also love. Great guy.
I think we all had like one ruling with Steven that we just completely disagree with in our days.
Yeah. Can I get another official up here?
Oh, shoot, man. Matt, I just laughed way too hard at all that because it's so relatable. I actually, when I throw my clubs, I'm careful of the spin rate of how it's going to land, so I don't have to reshaft a club, and so I have to deal with that because I don't get clubs quite as easily anymore.
It hurts to throw clubs now too. Like I couldn't tell you the last time I threw one, dude. 5 years. I mean, now that I don't play golf anymore, I don't get mad ever.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, what sports books could go there. I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember when everyone was upset about NIL? You know what NIL did? Make sure Cooper Flag wasn't playing with the G League Ignite. That's good for us. That's good for college basketball. When the best players are actually playing college basketball.
You're going to get battle tested. And it doesn't matter, Kevin, if you're at home or on the road. If you don't come ready to play in the SEC, you're going home with an L.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on Sports.
I kind of got like guys in late early this week.
That's a good note right there. So late early is the wave to be in this week.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
you never know, but typically with a north wind in the mornings, if it says it's going to be blowing, it's going to be going, and it's going to be cold too. So I preferably, like when it's windy, I'd rather be playing in the afternoon. At least it's going to be a little warmer. Friday, Saturday, it's not. Friday's going to be like really nice. Saturday is going to be a little bit of wind. Sunday, we're going to have some wind and some rain. So Friday, if that's your scoring day, I mean, you would like to go out in the morning and try to shoot the lights out of the place, meaning shooting the lights out of Bay Hill is, can you go shoot 67? You know, you go shoot 66. And you can do that in the afternoon too. But I think tomorrow is a big day. It's who can go out and shoot a 3-4 under par round tomorrow to set yourself up for like a scoring day on Friday.
It's like slightly turning the dimmer up on the lights just a little bit, just maybe just adding a little more light to the room. We can't
It's gonna be fun.
shoot the lights out of the place.
Like it's gonna be a fun start to the week with Thursday, and then Sunday just being windy as crap. I think it just makes for just kind of chaos on Sunday.
I will say the Willie Z pick, like I think if the scoring stays low, if it is crispy out there, I like that a lot just because the one thing for him that's always a question mark is the putting. But he obviously has, the length is coming back as his back gets healthier and healthier, and he's a great ball striker, great iron player. So if everyone's kind of stymied by the conditions, it being tough, and I feel like he could stay in and around it. So I like that one. My pick this week is going to be Patrick Cantlay, 28-1 to win outright, which feels long for Cantlay. This season, the form he's been in. T15 of the Century, T5 of the Amex, T33 at the AT&T, and a T5 at the Genesis. And he's only made 2 starts here at Bay Hill, and 23 finished tied for 4th, and T36 last year. We talked about this a lot on the show. Just like this feels like it could be a big year for Patrick Cantlay, where he could pick off a couple of wins. Just have that feeling. And this, to me, heading into major season at a really like a big boy venue. I feel like he could pick one off here, and this could be the setup for a good finish to the year for Patrick Cantlay.
Yeah, maybe it has something to do with the LaCava back-to-back. Joe Highsmith's caddy, Joe LaCava Jr.
Did you see their pair together?
Cantlay with Joe LaCava on the bag. Maybe a little back-to-back from the LaCava camp. I don't hate it.
Love that. Yeah, okay. They got Highsmith and Cantlay, I think, playing together on Thursday, Friday to get the LaCavas in the same group. How about that?
There you go. You see? That's just good vibes.
Great vibe. Needed them.
All right.
Need them.
We're going to IHOP this week. We're getting the flapjacks.
Wow.
And we're taking Hideki Matsuyama.
Big gulps.
Yes, we're taking Hideki. Why does it always feel, and maybe this is just me, that he's always slept on every single big week? It's the guy that nobody ever talks about, but he's always going to be in the last couple groups on Saturday and Sunday. It's just like clockwork. He plays well this time of year. He's a very good iron player. He drives it straight. Again, he's a very good iron player, and it's a little streaky at times with the putter. But if you get the good streak with Hideki's putter, you're winning by 5. Now, if you have the bad Hideki putter, you could be missing a cut. He's just not going to miss a cut. But I just think that Hideki at this place, it just the way he hits shots, especially off the tee. This golf course is all about eliminating left. If you can eliminate the left side of the golf course and then not have a bailout right, so being able to take tight lines with the left miss, knowing that you can't miss left, that's kind of the formula here. And Hideki, for the most part, has a tight little draw off the tee, so I kind of like that. Mainly, of course, it goes left, dogleg lefts. There's a couple holes that go right, but few and far between. So Hideki Matsuyama, we're celebrating an IHOP, and we're eating some flapjacks.
I love that. I think that's a great pick. I mean, and I think that in some ways falls in the same box in my mind as Zalatoris, where if everyone's playing defense on the greens this week because they're super firm and super fast, he's a guy that is going to be straight off the tee and is a phenomenal iron player. So I love that pick a lot and often slept on. What's the IHOP signature stat called?
I don't know.
Do we know what the menu item's called?
I'm not sure, but I just know the boys are celebrating at IHOP, and I'll change my flight if Hideki wins.
Yes.
You heard it here first. Changing my flight to go eat High Hops Monday morning to celebrate with the Matsuyama camp.
Perfect. Like the next time we'll see you live on Instagram, if he wins, we'll be just crushing a stack of pancakes.
Maple syrup flying everywhere. Just going to be a free for all.